Some news just broke, and if this is not a recession indicator, frankly, I don't know what is. One of all of our jobs is to kind of look at the tea leaves and to get a feel for what's happening with the economy. Because if you get the economy right, you're probably going to get your investments right as well. And so when I saw this headline, I was like, oh, this is not good news. Almost 70% of the US economy is based on consumer spending. And that's a really high percentage. And it's actually a good thing in general for the economy. Some economies like China is much, much lower than that, right? The spending, their GDP is based on other countries spending money. But one of the things China is working on is getting their consumer to actually spend some of their money. And unfortunately, here in the United States, we don't have that problem, right? Consumers, most of us are spending more money than we should, or many of us are. And so looking at how is the consumer doing is super important. Is the consumer healthy or are they not? And if the consumer starts slowing, guess what that means for an economy that's based 70% on consumer spending? That's right. It means the economy is going to face headwinds. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to enter a recession, but it likely does mean that we're going to face headwinds. So what was this headline? What was it that startled me, that woke me up and said, you know what, this is really a bad sign? It has to do with eating out. And many of us before COVID, we would, a couple times a month, we would take our families, we would take our friends out for a somewhat nice meal, right? And it was what I call an affordable luxury. And then inflation started rising and paychecks weren't keeping up with that. The cost of debt increased. So we went from going to a somewhat nice restaurant to a fast casual restaurant. And then as prices increased from there, we went from fast casual to fast food. And now as the prices there rose, and places like McDonald's, places like Starbucks, places like Taco Bell really raised their prices at a rate faster than inflation over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And so what used to be a very affordable luxury for us, not necessarily the healthiest thing, eating out, became an expensive luxury. In fact, most grocery store chains report that their RTE group, their ready-to-eat section of the grocery store, is one of their fastest growing areas. And why is that? Because people are trading down from fast food and cooking at home, which frankly is probably not a bad thing for all of us. But the headline that I'm referring to is for the people that are saying, you know what, I'm still going to eat fast food. They now have a way to finance your fast food purchases. And I know that sounds crazy, but there's a group called Klarna. And Klarna just teamed up with DoorDash. And Klarna allows people to make payments over time. I'm looking at their website now. They have a pay in 4 where people can split their purchase into 4 interest-free payments, and they pay automatically every 2 weeks. They pay 25% up front. So if your visit to McDonald's was, or DoorDash bringing you McDonald's was going to be, back in the day, we could do that for $5. But now for a family of 4, you're probably looking at least $40. So mom and dad can pay 1/4 of that now, $10 up front. And then every 2 weeks, they're paying another $10. Klarna also offers, according to their website, another payment option, which instead of paying in 4, I can't get the website to work now. But instead of paying in 4, one of the options is people can be interest-free for 30 days. I don't know why the website's not working. Oh, here it is. Okay, they can pay over time is the second one. And if you need more time to pay, you can simply spread the cost over smaller monthly payments of 6, 12, 18, 24 months. There you're going to pay interest. But can you imagine paying interest, and the interest is not insignificant, for a meal that you bought or had DoorDash deliver? I keep picking on McDonald's. That isn't fair. But for some fast food restaurant, it gets delivered to your house, and 12 months later, you're still paying for that. I mean, that's just crazy. The other option, of course, is you can pay in full today. And then the third option is you can pay in 30 days, according to Klarna's website. I don't know if all of that's available on fast food, but here's the point. As we trade down from a somewhat nice restaurant to fast casual to fast food, and now we're financing our fast food, that's a sign that if the consumer's not tapped out now, when are we going to be tapped out? I think the consumer is tapped out. And the debt game works. Here's the important thing for people that are in their 30s, 40s, or 50s, and early 60s. The debt game works as long as we keep working. But if your goal, at some point, we have to pay the piper, right? There's always people, um, as long as your credit's somewhat good, there's always people that are going to provide a credit option and allow you to extend things out and have smaller payments. But eventually, that debt comes due. And when it usually comes due is when you're thinking about retiring. And now all of a sudden, you've got these handcuffs on your hands, and you can't live your best life. Frankly, because you lived your best life by financing things. But now, when it's getting harder to work, when it's harder to wake up when that alarm goes off at 5:30 in the morning, and you want to take care of your health, and you want to get an early start to your day, you want to do everything. But frankly, it gets harder as we get older, right? The half-hour commute to work, the stress at work, the responsibility for hitting numbers. And so as it becomes more difficult and as the weight on our shoulders increases, and we're and the stress that it causes, as we get older, I can tell you firsthand for me, the 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 pain, the impact of that stress on your body increases over time at exactly the same time that, unfortunately, the debt is coming due, right? You may not be able to retire if you have all of this debt. Now, are you not going to be able to retire because you bought a couple fast food meals and you financed it on Klarna? That's probably not going to be the case, right? But over a decade of doing that, over a decade of not having solid money management skills, that is going to impact you. So figuring this out and having a budget, so no matter how much you earn, you're spending less than you earn so that you're saving some money. Remember, even saving 10% is likely not going to be enough for us. I was a financial advisor for over 20 years. And even saving 10%, unfortunately, I would tell most of my clients is not enough. Most of us need to be striving for saving close to 20%. Why? Number one, because most of us don't have pensions anymore. Number two, because we have uncertainty about Social Security. I do think Social Security is going to be there, but I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know. We have to plan for that uncertainty. And number three is because of one and two, we have to rely more on our savings to get us through retirement. And if you want to retire early, that's super important. Um, and so keeping your debt under control is part of what gives us the freedom. And if you're interested in this topic, it's why I made this video here. Why waiting to 65 to retire might be a big mistake. I'll see you in that one. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.